The galaxy had been engulfed in war for decades. Entire star systems were now under the control of the Galactic Coalition, a formidable alliance composed of some of the most advanced species in existence. Their technology was incomprehensible to most, featuring planet-destroying weapons, AI systems that could foresee battle outcomes even before the fight began, and fleets so immense they could obscure entire skies. They had subjugated countless worlds, absorbing each civilization's resources into their ever-expanding empire. For the Coalition, war wasn't a challenge, it was an inevitability, one they consistently won. Earth entered this war late, a small, seemingly insignificant planet located in a distant corner of the galaxy. By galactic standards, its technology was primitive, and the Coalition hardly noticed Earth's entry into the fray. To the Empire, humans were no different from other low-tier species they had encountered and subdued. They weren't seen as a species to worry about. Most civilizations collapsed the moment they saw the Coalition's warships hovering above their atmosphere. Among the Coalition's leadership, there was a shared belief that humans would fall in line, just like the countless other species before them. It wasn't arrogance, at least not in their view, it was certainty, bred from centuries of uncontested dominance. They had long ceased to view other species as equals, confident that their superior technology would make Earth an easy conquest, as it had with every other planet. In the Grand Council chambers of the Coalition, a group of alien commanders from various species discussed their next steps. One of them, a towering being covered in metallic scales, leaned forward, gesturing at a holographic map of Earth. "This planet's resistance won't last long," it said. "Their forces are few, and their weapons are laughable. I give them a month before they surrender." Another commander, a being made entirely of energy encased in a transparent suit, flickered with amusement. "Have you seen their primitive projectile weapons? Bullets? They still fire chunks of metal at high speeds. Our energy shields can handle that easily. They stand no chance against our plasma rays and particle beams." The council chamber erupted into laughter. The idea of a human soldier armed with something as outdated as a rifle facing the Coalition's advanced forces was absurd to them. Their armies fought with precision, guided by AI systems that anticipated and countered every possible tactic. What hope did a human sniper armed with a bullet have in such a war? But of course, they were only seeing one side of the equation, the side where technological superiority decided outcomes. Warfare had evolved so much for them that they had long since abandoned the belief that individual skill could make a difference. Battles were won by overwhelming firepower and the coordination of automated systems. Strategy, tactics, and skill were relics of the past. Machines did the thinking for them. As the Council continued to mock Earth's forces, they remained oblivious to the subtle shift occurring on the front lines. Humans weren't approaching the war like any other species had. They weren't attempting to match the Coalition's technology, they couldn't. Instead, they adapted, finding ways to exploit the weaknesses in the Coalition's overwhelming reliance on tech. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the work of Earth snipers. Snipers had long been considered one of the most effective forces in human military history. Their ability to engage targets from extreme distances, often without being seen, gave them an almost mythical reputation in many wars. But what truly made them dangerous wasn't just their accuracy, it was their patience, their understanding of the environment, and their capacity to remain unseen, unnoticed, and unpredictable. These were traits that machines couldn't replicate and alien commanders couldn't comprehend. Earth's military was small, but it consisted of highly trained soldiers who had spent years perfecting their skills. Among them were elite snipers, men and women, who had learned to operate in any environment, from deserts to dense forests, from urban sprawls to barren mountains. They were patient, precise, and deadly. They didn't need massive fleets or high-powered lasers. All they needed was a rifle, a target, and the time to line up their shot. The Coalition had never encountered anything like them. In every war they fought, they faced opponents who relied on brute force, overwhelming numbers, or advanced technology. They had never faced an enemy who could take out their most protected commanders with a single, well-placed shot. They didn't understand the value of stealth, of patience, of the ability to wait for hours or even days for the perfect opportunity. This was humanity's edge. While Coalition forces marched forward, confident that their shields and technology would protect them, Earth's snipers moved in the shadows. They traversed forests, deserts, and ruined cities like ghosts, unseen by the sophisticated scanning equipment the Coalition relied on. Their bullets, though primitive, were impossible for energy shields to block when fired from the right angle and at the right speed. The aliens had no way to defend against it. Their machines weren't programmed to handle such a threat. They couldn't predict what they didn't understand. As the council meeting concluded, the commanders were still laughing, convinced of their inevitable victory. They had no idea that, in the coming weeks, their most advanced soldiers, best tacticians, and most revered leaders would fall at the hands of humans they never even saw. The war was about to change in ways they couldn't begin to imagine, and it would all start with a single shot. The sniper moved silently, blending into the environment like a shadow, every footstep measured and calculated. There was no rush. Patience was their greatest weapon, a lesson ingrained through years of training. Out here, far from the structured chaos of battles waged by fleets and massive armies, it was about precision, subtlety, and an understanding of the land. The enemy never saw it coming until it was too late. The rifle rested easily in the sniper's hands, not a bulky piece of cutting-edge technology but an extension of their skill, honed through countless hours of practice. The weapon was old-fashioned by galactic standards, a projectile-based system that the aliens dismissed as obsolete. But it had never been about the tool, it was about the person using it. The sniper knew that well enough. Up ahead, the target moved, surrounded by layers of alien technology. Shields shimmered faintly in the distance, drones hovered above, and soldiers marched confidently, unaware of the danger. They had no reason to fear an attack. They believed their defenses were impenetrable. The idea of a single human infiltrating this far behind their lines was unthinkable to them. That was their first mistake. The sniper studied the scene through the scope, taking in every detail: distance, wind speed, gravitational pull. Every variable was analyzed and accounted for. The target was heavily guarded, an alien commander whose death would send ripples of confusion and disarray through their ranks. The sniper's mission was clear: eliminate the commander and disappear without a trace. The waiting began. The sniper lay perfectly still, concealed by the terrain, body pressed flat against the ground, watching and listening. Minutes turned into hours, but time meant nothing in moments like these. Every second was part of the preparation, part of the process. Patience was key, not speed. The target would make a mistake eventually, and when they did, the sniper would be ready. Through the scope, the sniper could see the commander issuing orders. Their alien language was unintelligible, but it didn't matter. The sniper wasn't there for conversation. It was the movements, the patterns, the subtle shifts in behavior that mattered. The guards rotated positions at predictable intervals, their patrol routes mapped in the sniper's mind. The drones moved in systematic arcs, scanning for threats, but their technology wasn't perfect. There were gaps, blind spots that no machine could account for, gaps a human could exploit. The sniper's breathing remained steady, controlled. Heart rate low, no tension in the muscles. This was the part of the job that the alien forces would never understand. They relied so heavily on technology that they had forgotten the art of warfare. To them, it was all about calculations and algorithms. For the sniper, it was about instinct, about feeling the environment and adapting to it. The target was now in position, standing near a series of control consoles, flanked by guards who believed themselves invincible behind their shields. They were wrong. The sniper adjusted the rifle ever so slightly, fingers light on the trigger. There was no hesitation, no second guessing. The bullet was already chambered, custom built for this mission. It wasn't a beam of light or a pulse of energy, it was solid, real, with weight and mass. The sniper's mind narrowed to a single point of focus: distance, wind, trajectory. The calculations were instinctive, practiced over 1,000 times before. The shot would need to be perfect. There would be no second chance. But the sniper wasn't concerned. Perfection was the expectation, not the exception. The moment came. A slight shift in the alien commander's posture exposed a tiny gap in the shield, just wide enough for a well-placed shot. The sniper's finger tightened on the trigger. The rifle bucked ever so slightly, a muted crack splitting the air as the bullet left the barrel, cutting through the space between hunter and prey with deadly precision. In less than a heartbeat, it was over. The alien commander's body jerked as the bullet struck home, a perfect shot through the gap in the shields, piercing the protective armor and ending their life before anyone around them even realized what had happened. Chaos erupted immediately. The guards scrambled, unsure of what had just occurred. They looked around wildly, their systems scanning for an enemy that wasn't there. The drones buzzed overhead, sweeping the area, but the sniper had already moved. By the time the aliens figured out what had happened, there would be no trace left behind. This was the difference between humans and the alien forces. The sniper didn't need superior technology, fleets of ships, or AI guidance. They needed patience, precision, and the ability to remain unseen. And they had all of that in spades. The sniper retreated into the shadows, careful to avoid detection. They didn't rush, there was no need. Speed wasn't part of the equation. Stealth was. Every step was measured, every movement calculated to blend seamlessly with the environment. The sniper knew that the alien commander's death would send shockwaves through their ranks. The coalition relied on order, on predictability. A single human sniper taking out one of their highest-ranking leaders wasn't something they had prepared for. It was the kind of unpredictable chaos they couldn't control. And that was where humans thrived. The mission was a success, but it was only the beginning. The aliens would start to panic, their systems frantically searching for answers, trying to understand how a single human had breached their defenses and killed such a high-value target. But the sniper wasn't concerned. They knew the aliens wouldn't find them. As the sniper made their way back to the extraction point, they reflected on the war ahead. The coalition might have superior technology, but they lacked something far more important: understanding. They didn't understand humans. They didn't realize that sometimes the most primitive tools, when wielded with skill and patience, could be more lethal than the most advanced weapons. The sniper would continue their work, striking from the shadows, unseen and unstoppable. The alien forces would become more desperate, more erratic, and in their confusion, they would make mistakes the sniper would exploit. In the end, it wouldn't be technology that determined the outcome of this war. It would be the sniper's unyielding patience, their ability to see the battlefield in ways no machine could, and their willingness to wait as long as it took for the perfect moment to strike. The Galactic Coalition had underestimated Earth's snipers. They wouldn't make that mistake again. But by the time they realized it, it would already be too late. The shot had hit its mark, and now chaos reigned. The once impenetrable fortress of alien forces had been breached not by massive weapons of war or advanced technology, but by a single human armed with nothing more than a rifle and the patience to wait for the right moment. The sniper hadn't stayed to witness the full aftermath. That wasn't part of the mission. The kill had been clean, efficient, and now it was time to vanish. As alien soldiers scrambled to understand what had just happened, their confusion was palpable. Commanders barked orders, drones buzzed through the sky, and automated systems scanned for a threat that no longer existed. The bullet had come from a distance too far for their technology to trace. It was outside their understanding. The idea that a human, lying prone somewhere beyond their perimeter, had taken out their leader with such precision was incomprehensible to them. Back at their base, high-ranking alien officials were already trying to make sense of the situation. They reviewed footage, attempting to piece together how their defenses had been breached. Their shields, they believed, were flawless. The drones were programmed to scan for life signs or weapon signatures, yet the sniper had gone undetected. The soldiers couldn't grasp how a projectile weapon, something from a more primitive age, had bypassed their advanced protective technologies. It wasn't just improbable, it was impossible to them. As they replayed footage of their commander's final moments, they finally saw the bullet. It wasn't a laser beam or an energy pulse. It was physical, tangible. That was part of why they had been caught off guard. In their reliance on energy-based weapons, they had forgotten that something as simple, as low-tech as a bullet, could still be so deadly. Panic began to spread through their ranks. If one human sniper could get this close, how many more were out there? The coalition's leaders had long thought themselves untouchable, protected by layers of technology no other species could penetrate. Now, they faced the reality that they had grossly underestimated Earth's soldiers, particularly their snipers. It was a mistake that would cost them dearly. While the alien forces frantically searched for answers, the sniper had already moved on, positioning themselves for the next phase of the mission. This wasn't just about killing one commander, it was a message, a signal that the rules of engagement had changed. Humanity wasn't going to fight on the terms the Galactic Coalition had anticipated. They wouldn't rely on brute force or try to match their enemies in numbers or technology. They would fight smart, exploiting every gap, every weakness in the Coalition's approach. And they would win. The sniper settled into a new vantage point, taking stock of the situation. The enemy's panic was working in their favor. The alien drones, once patrolling in well-coordinated patterns, were now erratic. Their search algorithms, updated in desperation, were ultimately ineffective. The guards had shifted their positions, moving in tighter formations, mistakenly believing that being closer together would make them safer. But the sniper knew better. It only made them easier targets. The confusion in the enemy ranks was spreading like wildfire. This was where the sniper excelled, turning confusion into chaos, and chaos into opportunity. The coalition's forces, no matter how advanced, were rigid in their thinking. They trusted their systems to do the thinking for them, to make decisions they no longer questioned. That was their fatal flaw, a flaw the sniper would continue to exploit. Machines couldn't anticipate the human mind, and they certainly couldn't outthink someone with the discipline to stay hidden and wait for the perfect moment. As the minutes passed, the sniper watched through the scope, calmly analyzing every movement. The guards were nervous now, their patrol patterns disrupted, their body language betraying their unease. They weren't used to this. They weren't used to an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict. Their shields were activated, the faint energy field shimmering around them, but it didn't matter. The sniper knew how to find the weak points. Another target appeared in the sniper's sights, a second commander, likely sent to restore order after the first had been killed. He moved with arrogance, barking orders, convinced that increasing the patrols and adjusting the drones' search parameters would solve the problem. It wouldn't. The sniper smiled inwardly. This commander, like the first, was making the same mistake, believing that technology could solve what was ultimately a human problem. The sniper adjusted their position slightly, taking into account the wind and distance. The same calculations, repeated countless times before, but each time unique to the current situation. This time the shot was trickier. The new commander had positioned himself near a fortified wall, likely thinking it would provide extra protection. But from the sniper's angle, it was the perfect setup. A narrow gap between two pieces of shielded infrastructure provided a direct line of sight. The sniper didn't rush, there was no need. The commander had no idea he was being watched. He was too focused on the chaos around him to consider looking beyond the perimeter. The sniper's finger rested lightly on the trigger, waiting for the right moment. And then it came, a slight shift in the wind, a pause in the guard's movement. Everything aligned perfectly. The sniper fired. The shot was as silent and as deadly as the first. Within seconds, the second commander fell, collapsing into the arms of his panicked guards. The sniper didn't wait to see the full aftermath. The kill was confirmed. Now it was time to relocate. The alien forces were spiraling further into chaos. With their leadership eliminated, the disorder only grew. As the sniper slipped away, the same pattern played out behind them. Drones swarmed, futilely scanning for a threat that had already moved on. The soldiers regrouped, more frantic than before, unsure of what to do without clear orders. The coalition's forces were built on structure and hierarchy, but now that hierarchy was crumbling. For the sniper, the mission was more than just taking out high-ranking officers. It was about dismantling the alien forces from the inside, showing them that their reliance on technology couldn't protect them from a human who understood the value of patience, stealth, and precision. Every shot fired, every commander eliminated was a psychological blow to the coalition. They weren't just losing leaders, they were losing the sense of invincibility that had carried them through countless wars. As the sniper retreated to a new position, they reflected on the coming days. The alien forces would become more desperate, more chaotic, and in that chaos, the sniper would continue to thrive. This wasn't a war of machines, it was a war of minds. And in that arena, Earth snipers were unmatched. The sniper knew that the aliens still couldn't comprehend how a single human could wreak so much havoc. But the truth was simple, they didn't need to. By the time the aliens understood, the sniper would have already moved on to the next target, leaving nothing behind but confusion and another dead commander. This was just the beginning, and the coalition was starting to learn a hard truth. What had begun as a routine conquest of another insignificant planet had now escalated into something they had never expected. A string of high-ranking officers had been assassinated, each death more baffling than the last. Their technological superiority, once considered their ultimate advantage, now seemed useless against an enemy they couldn't see, predict, or control. Their confidence, once unshakable, was now giving way to uncertainty and fear. In the dimly lit council chamber, holographic projections displayed reports from various battlefronts. The council members, representing the most powerful empires in the galaxy, sat in tense silence as the latest assassination was analyzed once again. The method was the same, a single projectile, fired from an impossible distance, perfectly timed and aimed to bypass even their most advanced defenses. The pattern was clear and terrifying. No amount of technology, no level of preparation seemed capable of stopping these humans, especially their snipers. Their primitives, one of the council members, a hulking alien with luminescent skin, bellowed. They're using tools our ancestors abandoned eons ago. How are they defeating us? No one had an answer. None of the beings in the room could offer a logical explanation. Their defenses had been designed to withstand the most powerful energy weapons, to counter complex military strategies. But none of their systems had accounted for humans using nothing but skill, patience, and outdated weaponry to dismantle their command structure from the shadows. "We need to escalate our response," another commander growled, their form a swirling mass of energy encased in armor. "We underestimated them." That was a mistake, but mistakes can be corrected. Deploy more drones, increase patrols, and set up AI tracking systems to predict their movements. If one human can cause this much damage, imagine what a squad could do. We need to find them, root them out, and eliminate them. Orders were issued across the various coalition factions. More soldiers were mobilized, more drones deployed, and AI systems recalibrated to detect anything unusual. But despite all their efforts, they still didn't understand what they were dealing with. Their focus remained on technology, deploying more machines and automated defenses, believing they could drown out the human threat with sheer numbers. It was a mistake rooted in their belief that superior technology always prevailed. The human snipers knew better. They had faced enemies before who relied on overwhelming force, who believed that sheer power was the key to victory. Time and again, snipers had proven that wars weren't always won by the largest armies or the most advanced weapons. Wars were won by those who could adapt, who could think beyond rigid strategies and tactics. As the alien forces mobilized, tightening their patrols and increasing drone activity, the snipers didn't retreat. They didn't hide. They adapted. For every new defense the coalition deployed, the snipers found a way to exploit its weaknesses. The more technology the aliens deployed, the more blind spots they created. A drone might scan for heat signatures or energy pulses, but it couldn't account for human intuition. AI could predict patterns of movement, but it couldn't comprehend the unpredictability of a sniper who might wait hours or days before taking the perfect shot. The coalition was playing a game they didn't fully understand. They were used to wars fought with overwhelming force, where victory was measured in the size of fleets and the power of weapons. But this wasn't a battle against machines. They were up against humans who had mastered asymmetric warfare, using stealth and patience as their deadliest weapons. On the ground, the results were devastating. Commanders were afraid to leave their bases, knowing that at any moment, a bullet could pierce their shields and end their lives. Soldiers, once confident in their invincibility, were now jittery, their nerves frayed by the constant threat of an unseen enemy. Every shadow was a potential sniper, every distant movement a precursor to death. The psychological toll on the coalition's forces was immense. For the snipers, this was all part of the plan. They didn't need to win the war through sheer force. They just needed to sow chaos, to disrupt the chain of command, and create an atmosphere of fear and confusion. With every commander they eliminated, the coalition's forces grew more disorganized, more erratic, and in the chaos, humans found more opportunities to strike back. At the coalition's war council, frustration had reached a boiling point. Reports indicated that not only were the assassinations continuing, but troop morale was plummeting. Fear was a new experience for many of the coalition's species, especially in warfare. They weren't used to being hunted, they were used to being the hunters. "We cannot allow this to continue," one of the commanders hissed, their voice low and dangerous. "If we don't crush this human resistance now, we risk losing more than just commanders. We risk losing control of the entire campaign. Our soldiers are becoming ineffective, they're terrified." Another voice cut through the tension, cold and calculating. "We've been playing this all wrong," the alien said, eyes narrowing. "We've been treating this like a war of attrition, but that's not what's happening here. These humans, these snipers, they're not fighting for victory in the traditional sense. They're fighting for disruption. They want us to overextend, to make mistakes. And we've been giving them exactly what they want." The room fell silent as the realization sank in. For all their technological prowess, the coalition had been outmaneuvered by a species they considered inferior. The snipers were exploiting their rigid strategies, their reliance on systems that couldn't adapt as quickly as the human mind. This wasn't just about the kills, it was about destabilizing the entire operation. The council agreed to a new course of action. They would no longer waste resources flooding the battlefield with more drones and patrols. Instead, they would tighten their defenses around key assets, reducing their exposure. They would use their technology not to hunt the snipers, but to outlast them, forcing the humans into more direct confrontations where the coalition's superior firepower could overwhelm them. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. The snipers had achieved what they set out to do. They had forced the coalition to change its entire strategy. They had instilled fear in the hearts of an enemy that believed itself untouchable. And they had proven that humanity, with all its perceived limitations, could strike at the very core of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The war wasn't over, far from it, but the snipers had shifted the balance. The Galactic Coalition was no longer fighting a simple conquest. They were fighting to regain control over a battlefield that had slipped through their fingers, one shot at a time. And the humans, with their patience, precision, and willingness to fight on their own terms, were proving far more formidable than anyone had anticipated. The final mission had arrived. After weeks of calculated strikes, precise kills, and careful evasion, the sniper had been given their most critical target, yet a leader so deeply entrenched in the coalition's operations that their death could tilt the balance of the entire war. This alien leader wasn't just another commander. They were the strategic mind behind much of the coalition's recent efforts to crush humanity. If this figure fell, the coalition's forces would falter, unable to regain their footing amidst the chaos the snipers had already sown. The sniper knew the risks. This mission would be unlike any other. The target was fortified deep within a heavily protected compound, surrounded by layers of defenses no ordinary soldier could breach. The area was swarming with guards, drones, and automated turrets, all calibrated to detect the faintest sign of an intrusion. The coalition had learned from its mistakes, tightening its defenses around key assets. This leader wouldn't fall easily. But that was precisely why the sniper had been chosen for the job. There were no illusions about what this mission entailed. The sniper wasn't just there to take a shot and disappear as before. The level of protection around this target meant that every move had to be meticulously planned. There would be no room for error. The sniper had spent days preparing, watching from a distance, analyzing patrol patterns, studying the compound's weak points, and calculating the exact timing needed to execute the kill and escape. Every moment leading up to the final shot had to be perfect. The target was inside a reinforced command center, surrounded by an energy field designed to repel all but the most powerful attacks. Standard firearms wouldn't even dent it, and the coalition soldiers patrolled in constant rotation, overlapping their movements to prevent any gaps. But as the sniper knew all too well, no system was flawless. There was always a way in, a way through, even if it wasn't immediately obvious. The sniper's plan relied on a combination of factors the coalition still couldn't predict: human instinct, adaptability, and the ability to exploit opportunities that machines or alien algorithms couldn't account for. While the AI-driven defenses monitored for energy surges and heat signatures, they overlooked something as simple as a perfectly timed physical approach. The sniper's weapon had been modified for this mission, with enhanced penetration capabilities designed to deliver a single devastating shot through a narrow gap in the compound's defenses. Every breath, every movement was calibrated to the unfolding environment. The sniper had already accounted for atmospheric changes, the angle of the shot, even the movements of the guards within the compound. As the sun began to dip behind the alien horizon, casting long shadows across the compound, the time to act had come. The final approach was executed with methodical precision. The sniper moved silently, staying low, watching the patrols pass by, waiting for the exact moment when the overlap between the guards and drones left a fleeting, imperceptible gap. It wasn't more than a few seconds, but it was enough. The sniper reached the designated position, taking cover behind a piece of debris from an earlier skirmish, and raised the rifle, focusing through the scope. The target was inside, visible through a small transparent viewport in the command center. Even at this distance, the sniper could make out the target's movements, confident, assured, surrounded by subordinates who followed their every command. The leader believed they were untouchable, hidden behind layers of shields, walls, and technology. But the sniper had found the weak spot, the one angle that bypassed it all. The calculations were complete, the conditions perfect. The sniper exhaled slowly, steadying the rifle, finger brushing the trigger. This was the moment everything had been building toward: the culmination of all the training, the missions, the kills. One shot that could change the course of the war. The target was in position, the path clear. The sniper's mind emptied of all distractions, focus narrowed to a single point. The target's form centered in the crosshairs. And then the trigger was pulled. The sound of the shot was barely audible. The rifle, designed to fire with almost no recoil or noise, sent the bullet silently through the air, through the layers of the compound's defenses, exploiting the gap in the shields the sniper had identified. In less than a second, it was over. The target collapsed, a single hole through their chest, the expression of shock still frozen on their face. The room within the command center erupted into chaos. Subordinates scrambled, shouting into comms, calling for reinforcements, demanding answers as they desperately tried to understand what had just happened. The guards outside rushed to secure the area, their movements frantic as they swept the perimeter for any sign of the attacker. But the sniper was already gone, slipping back into the shadows, unnoticed, unseen. The alien forces had prepared for everything except a human who could strike from the darkness, adapt to any situation, and exploit the one flaw in their otherwise impenetrable defenses. The assassination sent shockwaves through the coalition's ranks. News of the leader's death spread quickly, and with it came the realization that no one, no matter how well protected, was safe from Earth's snipers. The strategic mind behind the coalition's operations had been silenced. The chain of command was in disarray, and the remaining commanders, terrified of being next, began making mistakes. Forces were pulled back to protect key leaders. Resources were diverted from the front lines in a desperate attempt to shore up defenses. The pressure the coalition had placed on Earth and its allies began to ease as confusion and fear gripped their forces. For the sniper, the mission was complete, another target eliminated, another blow struck in a war that had long since turned against the coalition. But there was no celebration, no moment of triumph. This was just one battle in a much larger war. The sniper knew there would be more missions, more targets, more opportunities to turn the tide even further in humanity's favor. The coalition had underestimated Earth from the very beginning. They had relied too heavily on their technology, on their belief that no force in the galaxy could challenge them. But they had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that didn't play by the same rules, that didn't need fleets or overwhelming firepower to win. All it took was a single shot from a sniper they never saw coming. The war wasn't over, but the snipers had proven a point that no amount of alien technology could deny humanity wasn't just another species to be conquered. They were a force to be reckoned with, and as long as one sniper remained standing, the coalition would never be safe. The hunt would continue, one target at a time, until the galaxy understood that Earth's soldiers, though few in number, were capable of bringing down even the most powerful empires.